My name is Nicole Ferrini, and I'm a lead accredited professional. My company is Uncommon LLC, and we provide sustainable design management consulting to architectural firms in the area for projects interested in pursuing the LEED process. Well, this project was very special to me personally because I live 5 blocks from here. But in addition, sustainable projects in general are important for the city on several levels. They provide better quality of life inside the facilities. We get better light, we get better air quality, we just get more comfortable surroundings, which in turn makes happier people. In addition to that, in a more rational standpoint, we save a lot of dollars. When we build sustainably, we may spend a few extra dollars on the front end, and I qualify that because it's not always necessary. But at the end of the day, we spend less money on energy, less money on water, we spend less money upgrading our buildings because they don't work. And so in the long run, we end up saving taxpayers' dollars as opposed to the perception that we're such a big question. I would say that it's important for the children because on a broader scale, we're looking at trying to prevent things like climate change and resource depletion and the destruction of ecology and natural habitat. And at that point we're starting to talk about changing the face of our planet and changing the world that our children will live in.
These vertical pieces that come out covered in rock or stone. The awnings are the horizontal pieces that go across. And one of the interesting things that we discovered as a design team on this is that I want to say probably well into design development, possibly into construction documents, there was some budget issues, and we were looking at value engineering, and one of the items was, do we remove the fins and awnings? When we did that and reran the energy model, we lost practically all of the energy savings that we had gained in the initial energy models. So what that tells us is that you don't necessarily need high technology to achieve energy savings. You just need smart design, including things like shading devices and appropriate building orientation. So that's the very first thing that I like to point out here. The second thing is, of course, what we call during the design process the rain gardens, which is what's right here behind Renee. Everything that you see out here is native and adaptive plant material, xeriscape material. Again, as Alan mentioned, we had a little bit of an advantage because in our water savings calculations, we were going from turf grass, which requires quite a bit of water, to native planting. So we had an advantage in that 98% savings that we achieved. But at the same time, you can really understand through kind of the sloping of this area how, as the water comes off the building and off this hardscape, flows into this area, it can infiltrate the ground. It's caught by the roots of a lot of these plants through here and ends up in that ponding area towards the back. Now the ponding areas, and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, but here and also on the other side of the building are seeded with wildflowers and wild grasses. And so while we were a little disappointed that this year the wildflowers didn't come out, we're really hoping that in the spring we'll start to see that a little bit more. So we're very excited about that. And then one last thing out here is that all of the native and adaptive plantings have signage near them, so that as people walk through and enjoy the rain garden, they can understand the names and the types of plants that we use, and they can potentially implement that in their homes or their businesses. So if y'all will follow me inside, I'll continue. Several things that I can point out in this area that sort of run across a whole slew of LEED credit categories. The first thing that you'll notice is that we've got quite a significant amount of entrance mat right off the door. This is something that you might not notice as particularly different or LEED associated, but what that does is it allows us to prevent a lot of particulate from coming in off of the doorway. It catches a lot of that, and so that adds to some of our indoor environmental quality credits. Also in this area, you're going to see a lot of materials, the carpet, the countertops on the reception station. I believe some in the, somebody help me, what are these called? Security, anti-theft equipment. I believe there's some recycled content there as well. There were very few materials installed on this project that didn't have some level of recycled content, either post-industrial or post-consumer. The wood products that you see around here, the wood paneling here, and the wood components on the desk are all FSC certified. So that basically means that they come from a sustainably managed forest. If you turn around behind Renee, you're looking at kind of the a coffee bar area, the water fountain area, but those bins down below are actually required by LEED that you have a certain amount of recycling bins for cardboard, paper, metal, and those kinds of things. Again, almost everything in that area where Carmen is standing has recycled content in it in some way, shape, or form. Let's see. Also in the restrooms, you know, Marty mentioned that we saved a 40% water reduction on this project, and basically what that means is it's 40% reduction as compared to a standard code. Okay. They look pretty good. Okay. We used low flow toilets. We have low flow faucets. We did not go with waterless urinals. People ask that question all the time. There's a maintenance issue with that, and you do save a lot of water, but when you do a LEED project, and I want to really emphasize this to everyone, it's not about chasing points. It's about finding out what's right for your building and what's right for your community. And in this case, saving that water by using waterless urinals was going to cost us more, and it wasn't appropriate for this facility. It might be appropriate in another facility. And so those are the things you have to consider. We'll continue back this way, and I'll show you a little bit more. This is really paramount on our list of priorities for this project. One of the reasons is because energy savings, or saving energy is very beneficial to the cause of trying to prevent climate change. But at the same time, energy savings is important because it saves dollars. And that's one of the reasons why sustainability is important for public projects, because in the long term, these buildings will cost the taxpayers less money, and they provide better environments. Now, two of the major ways that we did that, and I believe Alan mentioned this, is through the lighting solution. All of the lighting that you see in this building is high efficiency lighting, generally fluorescent, compact fluorescent in some cases. We use a lot of indirect lighting, which isn't necessarily an energy saver, but it does improve the indoor environmental quality because you have less glare coming down when people are reading books and things like that. But the other way that we achieved an efficient lighting solution is through the introduction of a good amount of daylight. This morning we're a little bit overcast, so we're seeing all of the lights on. But I've been in the building later in the afternoon, and even in the morning when the sun is out a little bit more strongly, and more strongly, I don't think that's grammar.
Shining brighter.
Shining brighter, thank you. I'm in a library and using inappropriate grammar. But by bringing in that natural daylight, we don't have to use the electrical lights quite as much, and so we save energy that way. Now everyone always asks me, okay, well, you're bringing in sunlight, aren't you bringing in heat as well? Well, that can be the case, but again, I go back to smart design and understanding how to orient the building and bringing in wonderful north light and trying to block that hot western sunlight. And that's a little bit of a simplification of what we did. But in general, those are the things you need to think about. The other thing is you need to look at things like using high efficiency windows, okay? Low-E coatings on your glazing. What this does is allows light to come in, but it doesn't allow as much heat to come in. So smart decisions like that. And I have to say that in some cases, those kinds of window systems can cost more, but you spend the money there and you offset it somewhere else and you create a smarter building. And so those are some of the ways that we saved energy. Oh, and before I forget, and I mentioned it outside again, the fins and the awnings on this building. If you had removed them, we would not have saved the energy that we did. So shading those windows is also paramount. So we can continue this way. Another thing I want to mention about the materials that we selected for this project. Again, Alan mentioned that there were no high VOC content in any of the materials. And what that means, VOC stands for volatile organic compound. And basically those are toxic components of certain materials, simplified. And the reason we
try to prevent installation of those kinds of materials is, number one, they tend to off-gas. And they lessen the indoor air quality that you're breathing here in the building. Some of you might notice that in brand new buildings there's sort of a new building smell. That's the materials off-gassing. That's the carpet, that's the paint, that's all of those things that you're smelling. There were several strategies that we implemented to lessen that and to control what we couldn't remove. One of the things I have to give credit to the contractor. There was an indoor air quality management plan implemented during construction, which basically meant anything that was going on, any fumes or smells and that kind of content that was introduced in the building was ventilated out. And it was controlled, and any gas-powered tool was not used inside the building. We did not use the building's HVAC systems until it was fully operational. And what that does is it means that we didn't get a lot of that dust particulate from construction into the ductwork and those kinds of things. So we prevented that, and that's something a little different that sometimes doesn't happen on a construction project. In addition to that, we actually flushed out the building when construction was completed. So we took whatever contaminant may have entered the building, and we spent a period of time flushing that out and introducing fresh outside air, so that the first day that the public entered this building, they were breathing healthy air. Okay, so that was very important to our process, and I'll take y'all back this way some more. One of the things that you might notice is that there isn't a lot of daylight introduced into every single area of the library, and that's because it's not always appropriate. When we talk about sustainability, we're always trying to talk about smart design, and it doesn't mean just forcing energy savings above all else. Human comfort and the actual activities that go on in a building are still paramount. And so we take a look at areas that, for instance, the computer area. We don't want to introduce direct sunlight onto a computer screen because it causes glare, which causes eye strain and causes discomfort for the occupants themselves. So we're still thinking about those kinds of things. One of the credits that we did not achieve, and I like to mention it because I think it speaks to the idea of understanding what's appropriate. We did not achieve a credit for individual occupant control for lighting or for thermal comfort. And the reason for that is that this is a public facility. And so in order to achieve individual control over those systems, we would have to say every person that's sitting in these computers will be able to turn the lights on or off. There should be thermostats available for people to adjust the temperature for their personal comfort. But in a public facility, that doesn't always make sense. Not to say it never makes sense, but it doesn't always, and it didn't make sense for the library, so it's not something that we pursued. But again, as you can see, we've still achieved LEED Gold because we decided what was smart for this building. These rooms also are some of the what we would call not regularly occupied spaces, so they don't fall into some of those calculations. We try to focus on areas where people are all the time. I believe that about concludes the tour. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that a lot of the materials in this building not only have recycled content in them, but they have the potential to be recycled at the end of their life. When we talk about materials, we like to talk in the industry something called cradle to cradle, which basically means from the birth of a material all the way back through the end of its life being reintroduced back into the material stream, into the cradle of another product. The carpet that you're standing on is fully recyclable. The ceiling tiles that you see here, the white ones that are pretty much dominant throughout the space, are also recyclable. They can be sent back to the manufacturers at the end of their life. And so we're not just looking out for the sustainability of this building, but for the sustainability of our future. And with that, I'll conclude the tour, and thank you all so much for being here. I'm so proud of this building. I'm proud of our team, and I'm proud of the efforts and the leadership shown by the City of El Paso. So thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody get a library card.
Okay, I'm Renee Jimenez. I'm the founding chair of the Chihuahuan Desert Chapter, and I'm a licensed architect and partner with Warner Del Kroger Architects here. I didn't get to work on this project necessarily, but this is a huge milestone for El Paso and the City of El Paso, because this is their first certified project. Projects like this really give a new outlook to our community in what sustainability can be in El Paso. El Paso is a perfect place. We have a great environment and climate to do buildings like this that really engage the climate in general, and bringing the daylighting in, and in general we have great experience here in El Paso with regards to our building. USGBC is the U.S. Green Building Council, established back in 2000, and right now I think we have a total of 27,000 national members, and I believe it's 180,000 individual members of the USGBC. Our chapter currently, the Chihuahuan Desert chapter, has about 80 members, and we were founded back in 2006. Like I said, if they go to the usgbc.org, and there's a little link there that says join, and you can join the Chihuahuan Desert chapter. It's $55 a year if your company is a national member, and it's $65 if your company is not a national member.
Cool. Thank you very much.